Hi everyone, hi South Sudan. This is Gender Talk 211. We are back on the show, and this is gonna be our last show for this year, 2022, till next year, January. So we would like to wish you Merry Christmas and Happy New Year in advance. Today we are very happy to host one and only Tula. She's a poet, a women activist, like all the human activities dwell on her. But before we dive in that, I'm going to take us through the gender news segment for today because gender is everything that matters to us. Sometimes people when hear about gender, they think of women only. It's all of us. It's you and I, male or female. So our gender news segment, the top one is the National Ministry of Health has declared measles outbreak across the country after recording 31 dead and 2,471 cases in the 22 counties. I think this is serious for us, and it's something that we really need to check on. Yeah, because it's increasing, unnecessary fear in people, and we need to give a check. And another thing on our list is one health worker in Malawi, it was reported on BBC, has viewed from also the break of pandemic cholera is really, I think this information is also for all of us to prepare because cholera is something, people are moving, it's Christmas and people are traveling here and there.
And for us, Julie, being like they will see like unless someone is down, they'll say like, fella,
It's working.
It's there now. Cholera is in South Sudan,
It's happening.
but to make a precaution or to avoid it, it's very hard.
Yeah,
But
sure.
anyway, with site news, definitely we really need to give it a break.
Yeah, sure. So another one is South Sudan Human Rights Defenders Network has awarded 5 activists in recognition of their outstanding work of defending human rights in the country. It's encouraging. And I think also with time we will have to award people like Tula for good work,
By the way, maybe she's been awarded. By the way, maybe she's been awarded already.
Yeah. A terrible one. One of the medical personnel was arrested by one man who happened to realize that how his wife rather was given a family planning, and that the story behind
was this?
it was on Tuesday
Here in South Sudan.
here in South Sudan and one of the clinic. So I don't see the relationship where women don't own their bodies. And the woman was like, she's having 6 kids at her 34 years. She's 34 with 6 kids. And I think the man wants them to continue. And when we look at our economic welfare, it's not secure to have more children that you cannot take care of. So that brings us to the end of our gender news segment. And it's me, Jackie Ben. And then we are having a very important guest that is going to introduce herself. I cannot speak for her now.
Definitely.
Yeah, so you're welcome.
Thank you, ladies, for having me. It's a great honor to be here, to be part of the show, to be part of the Gender Talk 211 show. So I'm happy to be here.
And as an introduction, we just gave you one name. You can just go into details who Intula is, what is she doing, what have she been doing all this time.
Oh my God, yeah, with my names, I have so many confusing names. But my favorite ones, I have a Christian name that I am in the process of dropping, English name.
Okay.
Now I go by Minagano. Minagano is my South Sudanese name. But many people also know me as Tula.
Yes. By the way, I love the Tula one. What does it mean?
Ooh, it's a long story.
You can tell us. You still have one
to
full
make
hour,
it
though.
short, Tula is the name of a bird.
Okay.
So I gave myself that name when I was about 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
So my dad was telling us a story of a party in heaven where all the birds were invited, and one of the birds was called Tula. I think it's in Acholi. It's one. Yeah, the story was in Acholi. And then after he finished telling us the story, then I started crying and say, then from today, my name should be Tula. Don't call me Minagano. Don't call me anything else. Tula is my name. So I think that's how the name started.
And I just want to confirm that I know of actually because I am myself. So the
Okay.
tula is a very nice meal,
Okay.
and it's a meal like almost grow by every family
Yes.
Oh,
around.
it's also a meal.
It's also a meal.
Ah.
Yeah. So it's grown by like almost every family, and it's very tasteful. I like it myself. Yeah.
But my tula is a bird. The owl. Yes.
Okay. All right. And getting back into the conversation or the main topic for today, we most of the people outside there know you as an author and as well a poem. And now, when it comes to your profession, yeah, there's this famous book you wrote. Now we are starting with the title, by the way,
Uncaging.
Uncaging.
Uncaging. Why that very bold, and like bold title? And even before us getting into the book, why even be taking point personally?
Okay. Okay. Maybe I'll start by saying how I started writing
Yes.
poetry. Yeah. So it's not something that, my story is not like I have grown up writing and I have always loved writing. I started writing more or less when I remember the first time I write a poem, I was in high school, and I did not really see it, I did not saw it by then as a big deal, as that this is something that I'm going to do. But I feel relieved when I write. Sometimes you find yourself that there's a lot of things that you want to talk about, you want to say, but then there's very limited spaces for us to be able to express. So I started expressing through writing, through poetry. And so when I was writing poetry, I have not even dreamt of putting together a book.
Okay.
I was just writing. It grew from writing to set my voice free, writing to get relief, into now joining, creating spaces for young people to also to write, to do spoken word performance poetry. And through that, we created space like the Kelimat Poetry group. And through that platform, we were able to bring together young people from different walks of life. And we also created what we call the Heroines and Spoken Tales, where we also created a space for women to express through writing, because we realize in different platforms that we are in, women are not there, young female poets are not there. Then we were like, okay, we are part of all these groups, but we want to create our own group where we can be able to express through writing. So I think there was a point in time where I was very active in these groups, and it encouraged me to keep on writing. And then I realized I had a lot of materials, and then I was like, what do we do with this? Let's compile it and write a book. So the title came last. I did not have a title.
Never
in
have a
mind.
thought about it even.
Yes, so the title came last. And why is it uncaging? I think it is uncaging because to me, it represents liberation of the voice, my voice, setting my voice free. So that is why it is engaging.
In that in that very book, like, are you talking about yourself in particular?
No. No. So during the launch of the book, I said this book is like a salad. Because I got to talk about so many things, like different things, less about myself, but more about everything. The book has like 5 sections. There's a section that is called The Dreams We Hold Dear. In this section, I talk a lot about the country, about the dreams that we have as a people, about who we are, about deliberation, about displacement, about war, about peace. It's just a mishmash of everything. And then there is a section, the second part is called The She Tales. Here I talk about, it focus a lot on women, but from the perspective of beauty, strength, power, dreams, ambitions, and stuff like that. And then there is this imaginary part that is called poetry mystery. I just try to unpack like all of my thought about what poetry is. And then there is this part 4. People always think it's about me, but it's not about me. It's called The Shades of Love.
Okay. Why? What?
I don't
Why have you thought like? I think I should add love at the end of it.
because these poems are about love.
Mhm.
So it's just I decided to give The Shades of Love as the title.
Okay.
Yeah, the poems are about love, and then the last bit is called The Calming Thoughts.
Okay.
So in general, it's not really about me, but it's about so many things that sometimes it's very difficult to summarize it in a word. Yeah. So I think uncaging is actually the best word
The right word.
to summarize everything that is here.
Jackie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like part of your poems. You talk about poem on girl child. Yeah,
Inspired
yeah, and I think that is one of our case, especially in South Sudan. When you're growing as a female, there are a lot of challenges. So I don't know what sort of insight on your poem that depends on the child part of it. Like what form of maybe influence that you were intending to recite about. Yeah.
So like when we look at the area of girls and women in this book, there are a couple of poems that can speak to that. I have a poem called 8 Facts About Period. And I mean, we all know, we all go
Yeah,
through this
sure.
at some point in our lives. And I realized that, like, for most young girls, we are not prepared. We don't get the education from home.
Is it?
Sometimes we just hear it from school, and then
Yes.
it freaks us out. And yes, we just have to figure out what to do after
And actually,
that.
talking about monthly period, yeah. The first time I got it, I was crying. By the way,
Oh my!
I just started crying till my cousin came like, "What's wrong with you?" I said like, "There's this thing."
Oh my
Then
god!
I said like, "Oh my god!" Once
For
I just
you.
I go back like say like, I wish maybe I don't blame my mother or my aunties or whoever from the female side around me for not teaching me that, but maybe it's the community or the environment who are just pushing that thing. If they see it as a taboo, or like
Yes.
people should not be talking about it in public, is not good, whatever it is. But it's a natural thing at the end of the day.
Exactly, and we should be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
And me, I think the first time I heard about it was in primary school, and it freaked me out. My friends were talking about it, and I was like, "What is
You
this?
felt disgusted.
It means I'm going to bleed." And then, like, I've been very self-conscious for a very long time. Like, what if it happens to me? What can I do? What? But just again, like you said, sometimes we cannot blame our parents because they are raising us with the best skills and best information that they know. Maybe they were also not taught, and they're also like finding
found
it
it
difficult
like that.
for them to talk to us about it. But then the point is, we need to be the generation who will do it better, who will change. So just because we've gone through that, I think our children should find better education about some of these things. So yes, so there is a poem where I talk about period, just talking about the different stigma around it, and just saying we can do better. And then also there's a poem where I talk about I don't know if I can say it, black, because also in our societies there's a lot of stereotype and colorism going on, and I think also when we were young, so many people are not confident in their skin, and I think I tried to address that in some of the poems where I was
Weren't you attacked about it?
about the black.
Yeah.
Not really, because the poem is not coming off as I am attacking the people who are against the black color or who are bleaching, but it's just appreciating the black color and just trying to tell young people that it is beautiful. It's a color that you need to appreciate. So I mean, it was appreciated.
Were you trying to project an element of acceptance?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
Acceptance and just trying to say you're beautiful in your skin and
Whatever it is.
Exactly. It can be black and it can be anything. And black has different shades. And I was just trying to also say, like, there's nothing that you can put in your skin that can enhance your color, because like the black in itself, it's original and it's beautiful.
Anyway, 25 minutes after the hour of 4 p.m. In case if you have just opened your radio, this is 99.9, and this is the last edition. We can call it the last edition for this very year, whereby we have an important and an amazing guest. She happens to be a poet, and she's been talking about her latest book. Is it the latest book, we can say?
This
Or
is my
still?
first,
This is
my
your
very
first.
first book.
Your very first book.
Yes, this
What?
is my very
Okay,
first book.
Lau, when it comes to poem or poetry, who can be a poet? Does anybody can be a poet?
Oh my God, this is a very difficult.
Uh-huh.
This is a very difficult question. My background is also not in literature, so I don't know how to qualify who can be and who cannot be.
Yeah.
But just to say that poetry has evolved. Like if you read poetry from the 1990s or 18s, it's written differently.
Yes.
But now there is a lot of evolution in poetry, where now there is spoken word poetry,
Yes.
where poetry is mixed with music. So I don't want to say that there is a specific definition of who can be a poet, where like the lines, the number of lines in a poem have to be this number of lines or this number of words, or the rhymings and whatever. So in the past, poetry had a lot of rhythms. But now it has been changing. People don't even focus a lot on the rhythms. So I think it's an evolving form of art. And yeah, I think as an artist, you get to define it for yourself. Yes.
Do you think with a poem one day, one time, will be changing our society and reaching the right message to the people?
Yes, I think we are already changing our society through poetry in very small ways. Sometimes some of these things we may not be able to see the impact, but I think we have been we have been impacting the society in a very positive way. I'm saying this because I have been in the poetry space
Yes.
for quite some time. I have been there when it was a very small group of us, and I have seen how it has grown, and I have seen how poetry has brought together young people from different backgrounds to an extent that they see themselves as South Sudanese. They see themselves as people of this nation. To me, that's already an impact that I'm seeing. But yes, I think poetry is already making an impact out there. It's just a form of art that we need to appreciate more. And if we can do it more, in languages that many people can understand, because I realize most of us write in English, and when we write in English, we only speak to a particular segment of the society. But the messages that we're sending out there can benefit so many people who cannot necessarily understand English as a medium of communication. So I think if we can be able to diversify and write poetry in languages that can resonate with South Sudanese, we can reach out to many people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tula is really like very moved with what she's doing, and I think you still have other dreams to do. Part of your poem is also on issues, narratives around bride price.
Yes, by the way.
What is that poem?
And I think that's also one of our biggest problem. I have a friend at the university who was disowned by the parents, by the father especially, just because of these issues around bride price. There's a best friend of the father who approached the family, wanting to marry this lady.
The friend of the father?
The friend of the father.
Friend of the father wants to marry
The
Oh my
daughter.
God,
The
that is
daughter.
like a daughter.
Yeah, like
Wow.
like a daughter. So the rationale behind is like the guy was trying to say this is his friend. He has known him for years. So it's very good.
That is
for-
the father telling.
It's the daughter telling the daughter that he knows his friend
Wow.
for years. So since the friend is looking for a woman, this lady can be a very good. It's
I
like our
know.
parents are making choice for us,
It's
and
very
it's
sad.
a touch spring because that guy is very rich, and the promise, the negotiated dowry was 300 cows. You can imagine. So this lady cannot like try to go just because of this benefit that she's not even benefiting. It's the parent.
But even at the first place, even the father himself, like he cannot feel like, yo, this girl's supposed to be like a daughter to my friend. How can he even start?
So that was paid, and the marriage never worked. The bride price 300 cows. So since the marriage never worked, and the lady like refuses, she find other ways to get scholarship. She went to India, and then that now become a ground for the father to disown her. Like he has nothing to do because they cannot pay back these cows. So it's a threat,
Supposed
like
to
how,
pay it back,
yeah, to pay it back because the girl is not with the man. So like many of our issues, especially around marriage, people, even women in their houses, they're facing a lot of challenges in this narrative.
Even there's this scenario whereby a high school girl, she came at home back from school. She came, like she found a lot of people invited to the house. Then she started asking, are we having a party at the home today? Like then they told her like, no, those people came to ask for a hand in marriage. And you're just coming back from school. You don't know.
Primary school.
Not primary, high school. She's in
school.
senior 2 by then. She just boom. Hey, are we having a party? No. Those people are coming to
So
for her.
and to me that is just, it's just an indication of how difficult it is for women out there.
Yes.
So if this is Juba, the capital city, where we assume that
Yes.
people are more exposed, people are more educated, and they have, left some of the negative cultural practices. If these things are happening in Juba, so now we can imagine how difficult it is for young girls and women who are outside Juba.
Even if you've been following social media, there's this girl who got imprisoned for refusing to get married to someone old. I don't know, it's one of the state actually. The story was just going on social media.
I think there's so many of these stories
Yes.
across the country, and there are cases where even young girls killed by
the way.
their brothers because they cannot, they refuse to marry the person that the family have chosen for them. It's really very unfortunate, and I think it's more reasons why we should have platforms like Gender Talk 1-1 to be able to raise these issues, because sometimes in our societies when things happen like that, there is this thing where they say the kalamta usura.
Yes.
And that's how that's their way of blocking everyone away from blocking people. People are not able to help the victim because they say like this is a family issue. You're not supposed to interfere. And people are suffering because of that. It means we need to talk more. We need to look more into our legal frameworks, because talking alone is not enough.
But even Tula, if it comes to the legal thing, there's also this scenario. By the way, I have stories.
I know.
Whereby there's this girl, she got raped by a neighbor. The guy was rich and he was a driver for the uncle. The uncle was someone somewhere in the government system and whatever, So the guy was a driver for that guy. So it was raining one time. It was raining, and the distance, it's a 5 minutes walkable distance, whereby the guy came with the car like, yo, where are you going? I'm going home, but it's raining. Okay, let me drop you. And this is the very same guy who always come to their house to take tea, stay with us, and whatever happened, Then she was driven to Port William. She was raped there. Out of that, she came back home. She never talked to anyone about it out of fear, So 3 months or 2 months later, she was pregnant. They asked her pressure to say like, this is filan. So because them Omurikan men do rajil people, there's no man in the house. So the elder sister decided like, yo, this is a serious case and we are going to the police station. She went to police station because that guy was a driver Tazol Kebir. You come tomorrow, and this is the legal way that we want to take. Now, when it reached the family gale debiga kalanta usra kelima da kan fogo police because nas bonus like lugambo tahilla whatever. Such things also happen.
Yes, they do happen, and that's how we fail a lot of young girls, because number one, rape does not necessarily happen from strangers. In most cases, it's the people you know. It's the people in your family. It's your neighbor. It's the uncle that everyone know. Everyone will not believe. And second, in most cases, when it happens like that, like young girls are scared of reporting because there is stigma attached to it, but also because this person is too close, they may not be believed, and that if that girl is very young, maybe she was threatened and whatever. And then again, the gap in our legal system, where people will say, oh, this thing is hajat tabet, let's refer it to the family, let them settle. And in most cases, like you find if this person is rich, they'll say, okay, I will marry this girl. You see? And all these decisions are made without even taking a moment to ask this girl what she wants. So it's more reason.
I brought this narrative of the 300 cows purposely because in part of your writing you wrote something. There was a poem about bride price, so I just needed to understand like why was that.
Anyway, I remember there's a poem called How Dreams Are Buried. I think it also speaks to let me look for it and read it.
Like
How Dreams Are Buried. 48. So this one said, she thought she was not just a girl, but an asset to her nation. For her country, she had a great vision. She wanted to be a pilot, to fly next to the stars, waving at the galaxies. She was told that's too much for a girl. She registered they were right. A girl can't climb to that height. Even a tree is a taboo. Just sit beneath and wait for them to throw you the fruits, ripe, raw or ripe, chew with no complaint. She thought she might become a lawyer or a doctor. With a heart pure like her mother's, she can save lives and work for justice. She was told that's boy's lot, not a girl's lot. A girl's place is at home, washing the dishes and cleaning the rooms, learning to be a good bride for her groom, and therein her dreams are buried, and only she must unbury them.
I think that's where it falls.
That's where,
and even the phrase of the marasakit.
yes,
That thing of
yes.
the marasakit. Yes.
And you realize like some of these ideas, it is instilled in us from a very young age. Like you can see like in the way of upbringing, like you will be told go to the kitchen and your brother is there playing football or watching a movie or playing video games, but then you're supposed to be the one washing the dishes. You're supposed to be the one cleaning the house. And then you see that is how like it is instilled in our brains. And then
even that from the childhood, even like when it comes to marriage, it's status whereby the GBV cases always happen when the man started hitting you. He will say like, I have rights, I paid this, I paid this, and I paid that. It's a man to hack, you don't have any voice to talk back to me or something like that. So like I don't know, like the society, what is really going on.
I think also like many of the power that men see on that they have on their women is derived from the element of the bride price, because like paying means you own a woman. It's like sort of buying, you expend something on them. But I don't see anything that's equivalent to a person life, leave alone being a man or a woman. But I don't see any material kind of stuff that's equivalent to the whole human person. So in most cases, like men use that to gain power over women because they paid something. But then I think back sometimes, like people who reason it out, paying something to your in-laws as a man is a form of appreciation.
And by the way, even when it comes now, you want to get married because Janata Filanda Paulo Gurush, more than this. Now I want my child also to be paid times two, and that's where like the bride
now show off wealth.
Yes.
And I think this is also defeating the essence of the ideal bride price. Because if we're saying this is something of culture, we have to go back to our culture and ask ourselves what was the rationale in the first place. And I think examples like the ones you have shared, it just shows that, just like you say, like a human being is priceless. You cannot put a price tag on a human being. So in most cases, because of this dowry or bride price issues. Like you find people think it's more like women are made to be like a commodity that someone is coming to purchase, and when they feel like that, that's when they get you, when they marry you, when they purchase you in their head.
Yes.
They think they can just
Yeah.
they can just make you do anything that they want, and yeah, and I think it's also like there's so many issues within our societies that we need to fight back as women,
Yes.
as young women, and some of these fights we may not win today, but I like to say this. I always say, like, everything that I do, like my work, I consider myself a farmer. uh, as a farmer, when you're farming, you just put your seed on the ground. Like, you can stay for long without even knowing what is happening on the ground, but you also have to be very consistent, and you have to be very
Watchful.
watchful. You have to water the seed, you have to clean your garden, even if you're not seeing any results, you just have to continue.
Yes.
And if you do that, like, your seed will definitely germinate, and it takes time before you begin to harvest. Sometimes you will not even be there to eat what you
fruit.
have planted. You will not even be there to harvest. So I think if we look at ourselves and the work that we do as in light of what the farmers do when they are planting, I think it will help us to continue do the good work that we are all doing, but hoping that and knowing that the results is going to be out someday. And I think that what encourages me. Uh,
Yeah,
most times.
because this is gender talk, it's for all of us. I also sometimes see that, issues around bride price and maybe women being owned by men. Sometimes also it has a very complicated element, because some of the charges also, some of our parents do charge unnecessary charges, I could say.
Now let me shock you, Jack, here and Tulab, whereby there's this family. It's still, I have stories.
You have stories, Biko.
There's this family whereby they only ask 5 million. The bride price قالوا من بس 500 مليون ده 5 مليون ده ياو تجوز طبعا. Then out of a shock, the bride family is say like the husband's family ask like, why is so little? Are you guys getting rid of the girl or something? Then they say like, no, for our family we want a breach of relationship. We are not selling our daughter, but we want the better thing for her, because tomorrow, for instance, if we still like pay 10 million, 12 million, first of all, that we have to look in the husband. Where is he working? Where is he going to get the money
Exactly.
from? And secondly, how will he be like treating the girl tomorrow? Because the GBV cases are coming after this. Because I paid this, I paid
Expenses.
expenses. That's whereby they have all the power upon you. But for us, we want to have that good relationship, so that tomorrow, once you come, we can go, this is in-law, this is in-law, and this is how they build a relationship. It's just for building relations. The dowry should be a build-up of relationship, but not just
Yeah.
I think we've been complicating things for ourselves as a society.
Yeah, sure.
And we're bringing new things that I am sure it has never been part of the culture that they're saying it is. And just like you said, to some people it's just show. They want to show that they have. Because like now you hear dowry conversation, people will be asking for money for education.
Yes.
What is that?
There's a time whereby my auntie say like, okay, biniata kumdakara, mana tujana tanda kawan magara.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know?
So it's really something that is very complicating for all of us, for all gender at some point, but mostly like when women get to certain marriages, the burden they get there is just as a result of what is being paid. But also, Minagano, you wrote a lot of pieces, and I am just picking some few.
Yes, speak.
Yeah, I want to pick this very important one. Like, I want to know how you uses your artwork, to address cases of injustice among women and girls. Like, yeah, because for me, it's also a learning process. Like, I am really very passionate about your writing, so I don't know what forms of like how you use your artwork, your writing to address injustice among women and girls. Yeah.
So now how I use my art. So the book is here, right? The poems are here. Sometimes I don't get, not so many people get to access it, and not, reading culture is also a thing that we need to address.
Yes.
Not so many people like reading, but what I do is I do performances sometimes in
Okay.
events,
Okay.
and sometimes I get to write, like if there are events that specifically tailored on a specific topic. Let's say it's tailored on issues of injustices that is happening to women. Like sometimes I write a specific poems
Okay.
about them, and I do performances, and I believe it generate conversations, and to me that is one way of tackling such issues. But also I think the book, the poems in the book is also one way of doing that, because as long as the message is out there, um, someone will get to read it.
Yeah.
Someone will get to access it, and it may change their perspective. And if their perspective is changed, of course, a human being is not an island. We interact with people
Yes,
from time to
definitely.
time. So if you have a changed perspective when you're interacting with other people, you are interacting from that space, and yeah, I think that's it. And to me, even just by writing, to me it's a form of resistance, because as women, there's a way sometimes we're told to don't talk too loud, don't talk
Be
too much,
polite.
just be polite, be
Be a
nice,
girl.
and
That's the
and
description.
Be
and
a girl.
don't talk about certain things, just talk about the easy things. And you realize sometimes that become part of us subconsciously, we don't know, but it becomes part of us. We don't want to talk about certain things. So to me, like we have embraced silence as a culture. I have a poem called Silence, and to me, like me just writing the things that I have written, to me that's already a resistance. I am saying this is what you've been telling me all through my life, but I have refused. I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to talk in the best way that I know how. Yes.
And as for you as a person, like, is writing being a source of release for you?
Yes, I think it has been a release. It has been a release. Like ever since I met writing, it has helped me unpack so many things, like my thoughts, my emotions. But sometimes it's also a burden.
Pressure?
Yeah, it's a release and it's a burden. Pressure. I tried not to put pressure on myself. I write when I feel
Okay.
like when I feel like there's something that I
You want to
really
write.
want to write. But writing also make you unpack so many things that is happening within you. But sometimes it's a burden because you don't want to unpack certain things. And when you start writing and then you have to unpack them, and then you'll be like, okay, so I have to go through all this process. But yeah, I think like all the writings, all the poems that I have in this book, they have been like a therapy, a great relief for me, because there's so many things, Dico, that we cannot you cannot talk about it in the studio. You
Probably,
cannot
yeah.
pick you cannot just go out there and start talking about them. But just being able to sit in my space and to write about them,
At what time do you
it's
write?
amazing. There's no specific time.
Okay.
Okay? There's no specific time, and sometimes I can just wake up in the middle of the night with a poem in my head and I start writing.
With a pen and a paper or on a phone?
I do both.
Okay.
So I used to do a pen and a paper a lot, and now I do a lot of the phone with a note.
2022.
I know, right? The com is spoiling us.
Yeah. Anyway, 10 minutes to the top of the hour, whereby, like, how does it feel to be uncaged? Right.
Oh, it feels great. It feels great. Yeah, it feels great to. I mean, it feels great, but it's also scary yeah, it's scary and difficult because it took me very long before I can decide to publish this book, because this book was out by 2017. Like, I have all these poems,
And you have just released it.
and I just kept it.
What was happening?
I just kept
What was
it. I was
happening?
not sure. I do I put it out there? Is it the time? Is it ready? How will people perceive it? So you see, we always like go through this thinking in our heads, but yeah, writing them was so, it feels like a liberation, but publishing it was also more
Another.
scary but also exciting. Like, once it's out there, you feel relieved, but also with writing, with art, once it's out there, it's not yours anymore. It's for the readers to
judge.
interpret it the way they want. And yeah, I'm just trying to keep an open mind, because like, something that I write from looking at things from a specific angle may not be the same interpretation that the
Yes.
person who is reading will interpret. And I think that is generally the beauty of art here. So I enjoy getting reflections from people on what they think about some of the pieces and their thoughts, because it allows me to see how different or how the same we are as individuals.
Uncaging was your first one, yeah? Now, from Uncaging till now, like how many have you released? Or
I don't know. I don't know the number, and I have not been writing a lot. But
okay, the official release, like to the people outside there.
as
Like
in,
a book, like a poem book, like you have released to the people outside there.
it's only Uncaging.
Okay.
So it's only Uncaging. Uncaging is my first one. I don't know if there will be a second one or when there will be a second one. But yeah, I continue to write from time to time, not very often. But if there's something that I just feel I want to have a say about, I take a moment to write about them. Yeah, some of them publish on my social medias. Like, can be one poem, two poem, I'll just put it out there. But others I have not. Yeah.
For me, I just love it. From the look alone, it's beautiful.
By the way, a lot of
cover.
people have been telling me about this book. I think I should take
Really?
this serious.
This book is nice.
So my little sister did the cover page.
Wow,
Cover
interesting.
art.
And that was you?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You never asked? You never asked?
I don't think so. I don't think so. We had a very long just to even find the cover,
For it.
for it. It's been, she had to do a lot of drawings for me to pick. But yeah, I think also from the cover it shows that like this is someone that is getting out of something.
Yeah.
And like there's something that has been covering the face, and they're trying to like.
It's even more of
Yeah.
like, if I'm not mistaken, it's expressing a bit of emotion.
Like the eyes.
Yeah, the eyes.
Yes.
So the emotion in here reflect other emotions outside. Even my personal emotion is reflected here.
Have you read the book, Jackie?
Yes, I read the
How,
book. The
how,
book is-
how was it? Now, since she's here in front of you.
Oh my god!
Now,
Yes,
give
I'm
her
excited.
a live.
So
a
I
live
just
feedback.
want to say congratulations, because
Thank
the
you.
issues in this book is not your own. These issues in the book, like the series is cross-cutting a lot, and it's learning. So that also will lead me to a point where I really want to ask, how can you encourage young poets? Because like in the primary schools, pupils in primary school, pupils do sort of poem, and there are others who are really very passionate about it. Myself, I used to cram. When I was in primary 4, I can write it and correct it by my teacher. I can cram the whole page and I can just recite it in front of the poem. But then I also see it's important, like to document, like put it down, so that also reflect the attitudes of others. That also enrich. So I don't know how you can encourage young authors, like young poets who would like to write, especially girls. Yeah.
So I think that is also precisely why me and other female poets came up with the Heroines Unspoken Tales, to create a platforms where young women are documenting and writing their own stories. And I think in the past we have been going to schools to engage with young girls and young women, for them to write their stories. Um, we were not restricting it mainly to poetry, but we made it open to short stories and poetry and everything. Just creating that space where you know that your story is worth telling, your story is worth documenting. I have not been doing the school activities for long, but I think that is something that is on my radar, and I think it's very important for schools to engage young people, because I believe there's a lot of talent out there that needs to be nurtured, and I mean, we are the people who can nurture it, all of us, like, yeah. So I think it's an important point. We have done it in the past. We need to maybe put in more effort and energy to engage more young people.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since we are winding up with the program, what are we going to be expecting from you? Since Uncaging is out, and what are the future plans for you as an author and a poet?
So I may not say anything regarding to a next book,
Yeah.
but when I launch Uncaging, I launch it together with a video, a clip of the poem Black.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see how I can marry poetry and digital storytelling. And so I think, as in terms of next plans, what I'm going to do is, there are a number of poems in this book that I am going to transform it into digital stories, so that we have it filmed and acted, so that people who are not necessarily interested in reading, they can be able to listen and see, because I mean, people interpret art in different ways. Sometimes you will read and you'll be like, what is this person talking about? But then when it is documented in a video and acted out, like, you can be able to send a message to people who understand that language of a video more. So I think in terms of my next plans, that is what I am focused on right now, to see how I can do more with this current book, because I believe there's a lot of rich information in the book that we can be able to, like, use it in different ways and help teach people on different topics.
Okay. Any last message or greetings before Jackie wind up the show?
Yeah,
Oh
sure.
my God, greetings.
Uh-huh.
It's
Shout
interesting.
outs.
I used to love listening to radios and you know, these things of calling and greeting. So it was really nice.
Now it's your turn.
No, I mean, in terms of last message, I just want to say I am so happy to be here, to be part of this show, and also to say I am proud of you ladies, like the work that you're doing. You're doing amazing. And just to say, we all have contributions to make out there, and young people out there who have dreams. It doesn't necessarily have to be poetry. It can be poetry, it can be music, it can be like wanting to be a journalist like Diko and Jackie. It can be anything. Just take the first step. Sometimes as creatives, especially, there is that fear and
Yeah, sure.
procrastination and whatever. But just take the first step, and yes, you learn from the process. As long as you're taking steps forward, you will learn and you will improve. That's the only way to go. If you just sit down and continue to critique your work, you will not go anywhere. It takes courage and it takes the first step. And maybe the shout out is to all young people out there. And then my baby cousin Jamila, she loves coming to the studio. So I think she loves the radio. So I think my biggest shout out is to Jamila.
Thanks so much, Minagano. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I love
am.
your Tula, by the way.
Thanks so much for honoring our invitations. It's a very good insight. We love it. And I personally is learning a lot from this. I am not scared to mention that you're my role model. I am so much moved with what you're doing. part of that book is very educational. Like it's cutting so many areas of our growth, physically, mentally, and also help us as young people to liberate ourselves from certain things. So we pray that the Almighty God keeps you and keeps
Amen.
you for us. And this
Amen.
is Gender Talk 211. Drive safe. We are almost getting off, and Happy New Year in advance. Merry Christmas. Be safe and see you next
right.
year.
And as for me, to you, my guest, thank you so much for coming. And for you to help me co-host with you today. It was an honor, by the way. I was sitting forever, Jama. If you people have noticed, she's not around. So, as always, as you know, my name is Diko De Andrew, and about this book, many people be talking about it, and I want to take it personal. Can I have this book? But we'll be talking about it off air. And as well for the listeners, thank you so much. And as you have said, Happy New Year, right?
Thanks, Nico.
Merry
Christmas
Christmas.
first. Merry Christmas first. Don't jump.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, sure.